Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the leading employee benefits and engagement platform.
Hi everyone, this is Rohit from Vantage HR Influencers Podcast, and today I'm excited to have Mr. Harjeet Khanduja, who has set multiple greenfield projects and handled HR for multinational organizations in various geographies, including US, India, and Canada. Harjeet's experience spans a range of industry sectors that include automotive, manufacturing, pharma, alternate energy, IT, telecom, digital healthcare, and retail, and has worked with business houses like Tata, Reliance, and Piramal. He's currently working as Vice President HR at Reliance Jio. Harjeet is a Thomson medalist from IIT Roorkee and has completed his management education from Nasim Monjee and INSEAD. Welcome to the show, sir. Right, so how did you get into the role of HR, and what got you excited about HR that you spent a long career?
Look, it is destiny.
Right.
I passed out from IIT, joined Tata Motors. I am an industrial engineer by education. So I got into industrial engineering department. It used to report to HR.
Right.
So when I grew into HR. So that's how I went to HR.
Right, and we're going through a times of crisis, and during the COVID times, we had a very long lockdown in a country. What can leaders do to drive engagement in a remote work culture where they cannot physically touch or see people, but they would want to engage with their team members and their employees?
Look, if you talk about leaders, it is like Miyan Bibi Raji kya karega Kazi. So between husband and wife, there is no place of a priest.
Right.
And look, if you talk to the army guys,
right,
they just know their sabji.
Right.
For them, it is their sabji, what the country is all about, what the army is all about. Right. Here also, when you talk about engagement, look, army has been doing this for long. People are at the border, they communicate. It is the feeling of belongingness, how you bring that in, whether you are working remotely or whether you are working in the office. Now, when you are working remotely, there is a sense of fear.
Right.
That, oh my God, whether the person is with me or not. It is like a long distance relationship that you are not able to trust.
Right.
That, okay, the person is with me or not with me. Right. So, how it works is that there is a discipline which is required in communication.
Right.
You would have seen that if you're married, your wife will call every day.
Right.
The time of lunch. Have you had lunch? What did you have for lunch? What should I make for dinner?
Correct.
This is not a meaningful conversation, but it has a lot of meaning in life.
Correct.
That is what engagement is all about. Now, when we talk in, say, professional world, engagement is not about, say, having parties. Engagement is about, are you able to assign work? I have a framework which I called argue. If you argue, people will be engaged. Use the short form A for assign work, I for review work. So if you're assigning work, you're reviewing work, and then on the basis of that, you are guiding people.
Right.
Then people will be engaged. The part of this whole thing is that you start understanding their problems. U stands for understanding problems. You listen to them and then educate people how they can solve their problems rather than solving their problems yourself. Right. So if you follow argue framework, you will be able to drive remote work culture in a fantastic manner.
Right. So interestingly, when a company has an employee, they look at making them accountable for the goals and the whatever their organizational goals are. How can companies look at building accountable people just from the start? Because we have a very young workforce in India. How can we create an accountable workforce?
Okay, you have played gully cricket.
I have, yes.
So in gully cricket, do they pay you?
No, they don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
So point is, how do you make people accountable in gully cricket? You tell them that this is what your responsibility is. Ball should not go anywhere from here. You do a team meeting kind of thing where you tell them we need to win this.
Right.
People understand that we need to win this. For what? For our gully, we have to win this. There is a mutual respect. If you start disrespecting people, people will not come back.
Correct.
There is a connect which you develop. So business also works in the same manner.
Right.
When we talk about that mission should be there, vision should be there, value should be there, role clarity should be there, goals and objectives should be set. This is what you are doing in gully cricket. Same thing, you have given fancy names for business. If you follow those basics, you will be able to engage people the way you want to. And that is what I feel. Like in gully cricket, if somebody say drops a catch,
right,
you give them feedback instantly. Tell them,
correct.
How you have to hold your hands. So feedback is also instant. It is not that everything is hunky dory.
Right.
In corporates, feedback, we generally, when we talk about feedback is annual, at most quarterly.
Correct.
Why it can't be instant? When you are talking about rewarding, look, it is not an old age where you have to fill papers and do things like that. Correct. This is the age of Facebook, where if reward has to be done, reward can be done on a technology platform instantly. Feedback has to be given, it can be given instantly. So if you want to make somebody accountable, explain the role, tell them what we are trying to do. The person will be engaged, then keep giving feedback, keep listening, follow the argue framework. I believe people will be accountable.
Very interesting. And so are there any ways where HR leaders or even leaders can measure ROI and employee experience so that they are engaged and they're with the company for many years?
So when I was in my first job, my boss told me, look, in this world, 83% things are subjective.
Right.
Which itself is a very difficult thing to comprehend. This entire thing works in a reverse order. What you do is you look at the companies and you say, these are the successful companies.
Right.
And then you start evaluating why are they successful. Then you find that their employees are more engaged.
Right.
And then you do a reverse hypothesis. Like Gallup has done a survey and it says that business units in top quartile of engagement, 21%, they're having 21% higher profitability. It is not because they have engagement, that is why they have higher profitability. It is the people who have higher profitability, they are 21% over and above the other person.
Right.
Let me give you another example for this. Suppose it is a belief that if you study, you will get marks.
Right.
So if you are getting marks, that means you are studying.
Right.
There are two ways of getting marks. One is mug things up, and second is understand things.
Correct.
Now, once you understand things, then whatever kind of question is coming, you will be able to answer that question because you know the concept. And if you are mugging it up, you will not be able to answer those things. Employee engagement is just like that. If you understand the basic premise, and there is no rocket science in this.
Right.
Simple. If you are able to explain to employees what you are trying to do, and if they are able to understand what they have to deliver,
right,
basic discipline, if you are able to follow, then it is a win-win situation for you as well as for employees. Look, how this entire piece works, this is not about logic.
Right.
ROI comes from logic. When you are dealing with people, it is illogical, where E is emotion.
Correct.
It is emotion to the power of logic. If you can bring emotion of people in your business, then it is an exponential power of the logic which you are talking about. Right. So in people business, it is 2 + 2 is not 4. It can be anything.
Right. Interesting. And so we've had John Doerr, who's the VC at Kleiner Perkins. He talked about OKRs and he wanted to implement OKRs and has done very successfully in Google. So are OKRs important in the Indian ecosystem, and how can they help leaders in measuring their performance?
Okay, you tell me, Google Maps.
Right.
Are they important?
They are, yes.
So you thought for a while, and then you said they are important because, look, if you are going anywhere, if you are just sitting at home, then how is Google Map important? Like in COVID situation where you are, say, quarantined in your home, it's not important. But if you want to reach somewhere, and if you want to know where I want to go, you have to put the destination. You have to think what my destination is. You have to put it there. It will create a path for you. In OKR, what you are trying to do is, this is the destination I want to reach. This is the path we want to take. And if you know, then whether it is a cab driver, whether it is your own driver, or whether you are driving, you will be able to reach your destination, and it tells you in how much time you will reach your destination. So that is what OKR does to you. It is a method of logical thinking. It quantifies. It is not that Google Map shows you will reach in 53 minutes, you reach exactly in 53 minutes. But you're clear in your head, this is what the estimate is. If everything is right, if traffic is more, it can be plus minus 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. So same thing OKR does to a business. And it is a very good concept if implemented in the right sense. You just want to do it for a fancy thing, then
it's not going to work.
It doesn't have any value.
Correct. And India has a very young workforce. There are thousands of students who are graduating every year, but we also see there is a disparity among the skill set that they have at the beginning of the journey. How can Indian companies look at enriching the young talent supply so that more international companies can look at Indian talent, and the young workforce can grow from here?
Frankly speaking, I would not say that we should prepare our talent for international companies. That should be individual choice where that person wants to compete, or where that one person wants to compete, wants to contribute.
Right, absolutely.
Right now, our Prime Minister is talking about vocal for local.
Correct.
I don't want to go on a separate path that we want to train our people for international companies. Look, our people should be trained in such a manner that they are of international quality. Correct. People outside should aspire for this talent. One of the things we have already given to the world is IT. And it is not IT. It is the mathematical capability which comes out of our education system.
Right.
The problem is the whole world has changed.
Right.
How our education system works is, at the time of exam, you ask a question, and we have to remember everything, cram up everything, and give answers. Right now, the word works in a Google way.
Right.
You have to ask questions, Google will give you answers.
Correct.
So that has to change. We have to teach our people to ask questions. Then they will be sought after by the business. They will be looked at not only as IT talent, they will be looked at as business talent also.
Yep.
The biggest problem with people is we are good at analytics, but we don't question. So we need to start questioning.
Right. Very interesting insight. And as you rightly pointed out that companies are becoming larger, and companies also need to be agile, and especially during these times of crisis, we also understand that they need to be aligned with employees and employers' values. How can organizations be more agile and be aligned to the employees' value system, especially with the millennials and Gen Zs who are coming into the workforce?
The point is there an option? Generally, we think sitting in companies that we are running the business. Of course, when you sit in a company, you have an objective.
Right.
But what happens is there is a social system outside it.
Right.
I will give you an example how the benchmarks are set. Suddenly, there was Pizza Hut, McDonald's, they came up.
Right.
And they said 30 minutes nahi to free. And when they said 30 minutes are free, they changed the entire ecosystem for everyone.
Right.
Now, the expectation of any employee who is there is that anything will have to happen in 30 minutes. If pizza can come in 30 minutes, why can't other things in the organization can happen in 30 minutes?
Right.
And some of these employees, some of this young talent has become, say, key position holders in the organizations. And they have started demanding that way. If you see the business growth, how it has happened because of this one change in the social ecosystem.
Right.
Let me tell you about another change in social ecosystem. That is YouTube.
Right.
Moment YouTube came, I'm naming YouTube because it was the first in the entire league.
Correct.
Clear, you're watching TV. So, 9 baj gaye kya? Kaun banega crorepati? You will have to go and watch Kaun banega crorepati at 9 o'clock because it comes at 9 o'clock. After YouTube, I will decide at what time I want to watch a specific content. So, a flexibility has come in. Now, companies will have to respect that flexibility. And it is very hard for companies to respect that flexibility because you have been operating in one particular manner for quite some time. And suddenly, normal changes, like after COVID, work from home, which was like people were thinking, should we do it or shouldn't we? Now you don't have an option. And after this, suddenly you are realizing, like contact center industry has realized, if I do this, I don't need infrastructure. In contact center industry, infrastructure is 50% of their cost. If you hire a person at 2 lakhs, then your actual cost of that person is 4 lakhs.
Right.
So you are able to cut your cost to half if you are enabling that person to work from home. People have come up with solutions which work on mobile phones, so you don't require any infrastructure. Just think how fast you can scale the whole thing. This industry is going to boom and is going to provide opportunities in the smallest towns. And people don't have to come to Mumbai for getting that opportunity. They will be able to do that work from their respective hometowns.
Right.
So businesses work with society. Society works with business. That is how the collaboration works.
Right. Interesting. And do you think the work from home culture will be permanently there, or do you think once the pandemic is over, around 20 or 50% of the employees would be working permanently from home, or what do you think be the work around going there?
So I think some of this will remain. Look, a recent study of Gartner said that 41% increase has happened in work from home.
Right.
And the problem with that is, it is not that 41%. It can be 200% also. The problem is infrastructure.
Right.
Do people have laptop? Do people have connectivity? The thing is, people have smartphones. How many companies have put in resources to make sure that my work, why do I need a laptop? Why can't it happen on a smartphone?
Right.
So, whichever company, segment, industry has thought about it, work has started moving there. Like I've seen some companies doing that, and they said instead of hiring sales talent, what we will do is we are going to give an app which is like point of sale equivalent on our itself. So you can access it from your mobile phone, and sitting at your home, you can do business. You can be our sales associate. Like what Swiggy was doing, or what Swiggy likes were doing. So other industries have also started working in the same manner, started thinking in the same manner.
Right.
So what you are saying makes a lot of sense, and I believe some of the work will change, and not only work from home, some of the work will get converted into gig work.
Correct. And so what do you think would be the top key trends for HR, which will change the shape of HR for tomorrow? Because you've been in the industry for a long time, you would have seen a lot of changes. But what do you foresee going ahead in India?
So I will give you an Uber example.
Right.
So we generally think that how Uber works. Uber is a platform.
Correct.
So Uber was a platform working in a physical world where drivers interact with the customers directly. There is no manager in between. So when manager is not between, you have a new organization structure. So HR guys will have to envisage those kind of organization structures which are platform based, which are not people based.
Right.
That you're connecting people directly with the customer. Second is, Uber has an interesting thing that whenever a driver is doing something, the person gets, okay, you are 3-star, 5-star. You are getting instant feedback. This is performance management. That you are giving feedback, you are developing the person.
Right.
Then there are incentive schemes, which is further enhancement to performance, that how you actually manage performance. So development and then entire management of performance. If you do these many trips, you will get this much money extra.
Right.
Their hiring is completely digital. There is a small part of induction which they do. So the scalability of hiring is much more. Their contract is different from a normal contract.
Right.
If you see all these things, you are giving flexibility. You are not monitoring time and attendance, that whether you are 8 hours there in the office or not. Thing is how much business you are doing for me and how much I am paying you for that.
Right.
And they have a contact center also for their drivers, not for customers. Customers, they take on platform. For drivers, they have a contact center. If anyone wants to say that, okay, something bad has happened to me, or this is not fair, or customer has misbehaved, they listen and they motivate. They tell them, you are doing good. You will be able to catch up. And if customer has done something, we will take it up with the customer. That is another thing of HR, which is going to be of prime importance. So
Right.
this was one company which was doing all this stuff before COVID also.
Right.
So when COVID is going to change the landscape, I believe this is what is going to happen to a lot of companies.
Right. So what you're saying is that incentivizing employees would happen in a faster. There'll be a faster feedback to employees, and the rewarding would also be there. But how do you think technology can help HR when it comes to rewarding employees? Since Vantage Circle is a reward and recognition platform. Well, how do you think technology will play that role?
Look, I will give you the same Uber example. If you see, initially when Uber started doing this, they were also learning on the go.
Correct.
First, they came up with that, okay, we will give you incentive for, so they designed an incentive scheme. The settlement of whatever incentives they have to pay and the wages they have to pay, that happens on a weekly basis.
Right.
Second thing they started was, do you want to tip a driver?
Right.
Do you want to recognize a driver? Instead of just saying you give 4-star, 5-star, initially they were showing, okay, how many 5-star trips you have done. Then this guy is good at conversations. So you started recognizing people on various fronts, which is a
Right.
feel good, which motivates them. So that is how your technology platform works. So HR work from delivery, which was a main component of HR, is going to get converted into how you design your platform and how you are going to motivate your people by designing it well.
Right.
How your campaigns will work. So, like we say, if somebody likes Jagjit Singh, give that guy Jagjit Singh CDs.
Right.
So, if there is a technology platform, you will be able to do it for an individual, that engagement. Right now, any which ways, if people are sitting at their homes, you can't do mass engagement activities, put everyone in the same room and try to. Technology gives us that advantage that you can individualize things. You are generating a lot of data when people are working from home if you're using a platform.
Right.
If you are able to use that to get insights, you can do wonders as far as employee engagement is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great insight. And so, I think you've been very active on LinkedIn and been an international speaker. What advice would you give to, young listeners on how to become a better storyteller and speaker? Because, as you rise up, your communication skills become very important. So what are your thoughts on that?
Look, frankly speaking, this is a myth.
Okay.
Why do I say so? Leadership, when we talk about leadership in true sense, leadership is about providing direction.
Right.
Where and what. It is not about flamboyant communication.
Right.
Flamboyant communication is an advantage. Communicating right is more important. I will give you a couple of examples so that you understand. Dr. Manmohan Singh gave our economy the right direction.
Correct.
Was he a great flamboyant communicator?
No.
He was not.
Right.
I was watching another day a clip of Stephen Hawking.
Right.
He can't speak. But 65 lakh people watch his TED Talk.
Correct.
It is not about being a flamboyant speaker. It is about how powerful your stories are.
Right.
And second is, in business, what is more important is communication is like, I'm telling you something. You know what you make out of it. So in business communication, what you need to do is, once you communicate, you need to check back what the other person has understood. And wherever the person is not on the same page, you need to correct that person.
Right.
That makes communication effective. You would have seen all the CEOs are broken records. That is the reason CEOs are broken records. So you don't need to be very good at communication to be successful as a leader. Communication is an additional advantage. That is how I see it.
Very, very nice. And I quickly want to do the top 3. What's your favorite business book?
Look, I am not a great fan of books, but I have read few. Right. So Well Done is one of them. Semco is one of them. Goal is one of them. But I like movies. So Founder, Devil Wears Prada, one of my favorites, and Suits, which is a web series that is awesome if you want to learn about business. So these are also new types of books.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll put that on the show notes. And so do you follow any HR leader or CEO do you look up to?
Look, I follow anyone who promotes positivity, who talks about future, who looks at things from different perspectives. I've been, following Harsh Goenka, Anand Mahindra, in HR, NS Rajan, he writes so well. Ashish Vidyarthi, he has started talking about HR. So I love these guys and many more. Brilliant is one of them. So
right. And so do you have any piece of advice for young HR leaders who want to make career in HR and want to grow and become like you?
Look, the biggest strength of HR is that whether you are able to empathize with people or not.
Right.
Technology is going to take away the delivery part of work. It is the empathy which will remain.
Right.
So see your people as people, not resources. That is what I would say.
Got it. And so what is the best way people can reach out to you and know more about you?
Look, I'm generally very open. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter.
Correct.
Anywhere you can reach.
Correct. Correct. We'll put that in the show notes. So thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us. It's been an honor speaking to you, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. I loved interacting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for new episodes.